Welcome back to Business on City News 570, powered by Cowan Insurance. And we are joined by Tania Ziolkoski, and she's a commercial account executive with Cowan Insurance Group. And Gregory, every week I love that someone from Cowan comes on, helps us to understand various aspects of risk and insurance and makes you smarter. Such a tough job, but they do a wonderful job of making you smarter. Today we want to talk about builder's risk, because I know you know nothing about builder's risk, but really important for people to understand.
Yeah, and I think it's wonderful as well. They make us both smarter, but they also point out your faults in life, and I think that's the real benefit of this few minutes we have with a Cowan professional. But Tania, we're going to talk about builder's risks today, and that can pertain to a contractor building a new home or a developer building a new home in a subdivision. But more importantly, we want to talk to the people, most of the people that are listening right now who might not understand this when they're doing a substantial renovation around their home. Builders' risks are really important to have as in either endorsements or separate policies at that time of construction. Let's talk about the importance of that and what people maybe fail to understand when they're having substantial renovations done.
Sure. So I'm actually going to talk more specifically about builder's risk warranties. So when it comes to insurance, a warranty is really a condition that the insurance company applies to the policy that needs to be met in order for your coverage to be valid. It's important to know that the meaning of a warranty in the insurance world doesn't necessarily align with your standard understanding of the purpose or intention. This is very much a restriction or a limitation that's added to the insurance policy that can limit or even void coverage entirely. If you as the contractor or the owner do not implement specific measures to protect the property or the project site during construction, coverage could be null and void.
So does that, I mean, part of the reason for this, I think just before we went on a construction site, if you're doing, as an example, a full renovation and you're getting a whole house, literally a house full of new windows, or you've got drywall being delivered, or the products, those have to be insured while they're in the home and it's not occupied, or portions of the house aren't occupied. It's those kinds of risks that your normal house insurance would not cover, and this builder's risk is a separate, as Greg said, endorsement or separate policy, so that you are protected if someone steals those materials or something was to happen where those materials are damaged. Is that I got that about right?
That's correct. So if we're talking about a homeowner's policy, generally speaking, there's within your homeowner's package, there's a limited amount that's allowed for any, minor renovation. When you're doing something more substantial or a substantial project or addition, you certainly should seek a separate policy that's specific to what it is that you're doing.
But I think the warranty kind of speaks to, what you have to understand about these policies there are specific items within or coverages within the policy that require you to do. So you need to do everything in your power to make sure that those windows aren't stolen, so you can't just, dump them on the side of the road and we'll get to them. That would not be a measure under a builder's risk that would say, you made sure as the owner, you made sure that nothing would happen to these. There are conditions and warranties under the agreement that make you responsible for some of these. And I think it's so important that first of all, that people enter into that or get professional advice from their Cowan advisor or whoever it happens to be on whether or not they need a builder's risk. and then understanding all the warranties and conditions that are contained in that builder's risk to make sure they have the most protection and support that they can have. Wouldn't you say that that is key number one, Tanya?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to kind of put it into perspective, I'll share kind of an example with you of what we're referring to when we talk about warranties. So one of the key ones that come to mind, especially as we move more into the colder months, is what we call a heating device warranty. So let's say, in this example, we're talking, a new construction residence. As you, move into the colder months, many contractors will use propane heaters throughout the winter, as a lot of times there's generally no permanent heat source that would be available on a new construction site. The warranty that's attached to the policy would state that any forced air heater in the interior of the building is strictly forbidden, meaning that if you have one in there and it ignites and starts a fire, the insurance company would very much be in a position where they could deny that claim. Mm-hmm. Any heating device would have to be CSA or ULC approved, and then there's additional parameters around that, such as it needs to be tied off to the wall or the floor, and they like to have it, a minimum clearance of about 4 feet. And as I mentioned, the warranties themselves, they vary in the parameters within them, very much amongst different insurance companies, and the terms kind of within them.
Yeah. So there's a good example of why when you're doing a renovation or you're in construction, you call up Tania from Cowan and ask these questions, because you need to understand how to bind your coverage and what your responsibilities are to make sure you have that coverage. So This is awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today, Tania. It's really helpful for us to understand whether it's a home renovation or a commercial renovation, that there's still responsibilities on the insurance. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
Gregory, remarkably enough, we're out of time.
Yes, just want to remind everyone, have a happy Thanksgiving and a safe Thanksgiving as well. But go to greaterkwchamber.com, cambridgechamber.com. We got some great events coming up you don't want to miss. And go to chambercheck.ca. We've got screening kits in stock right now. If you're a small or medium-sized business with 150 employees or less, go to chambercheck.ca. Order your antigen screening kits today.
All right, we'll be back next week with another edition of Business to Business on City News 570, powered by Cowan Insurance.